Hey, folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting. But also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
Glamorized and embraced by Hollywood, feared in the underworld, Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was one of the most powerful men in America. He was also one of the most hated. The man who gave birth to Las Vegas was gunned down in the luxurious home of his glamorous lover. Almost 80 years later, his murder remains unsolved. Who killed Bugsy?
And it's me, Mr. Big, a.k.a. Wayne Clingman. Thank you very much for everybody for tuning in. That's the hat to you all as well. Many thanks to Paps for having me do this show. I really appreciate everybody, especially the people at Critical Blast who's helping me redo my books and get them all on the different wide range things that they have access to. Mine used to only be on Amazon, but now more and more of them will be hitting the other stores as well, such as Barnes & Noble, Walmart, your local library can all access these books, where many of them would not get them from Amazon for whatever reason. They now will be able to. And this week, My book on Frank by Life and Times will be up there. Life and Times of Frank vs. Harry will be out, and I'll put those links up there when that time comes. As well, on the 15th of this month, a book I did with Wiccan Conservative about gambling. The use of magic and gambling will be hitting the bookstores. We got another book with her coming out. We hope in the beginning of May. We hope to have another book come out with Critical Blast on UFOs, mysteries, and cults. With a maybe a flip side. One side will be the UFO and cult thing. The side of the book will be stories about crazy serial killers. Yeah, there's some crazy ones, and we're adding to that group. But all right, enough of that. Let's talk about human experimentation with the CDC, Centers of Disease Control, the United States government. Yes, and I stupidly want to make sure I had my facts right with some years, so I checked them, and yeah, I had them right. But then I got found out they did more horrific things than I knew about. I knew about them allowing black men having syphilis to be monitored, not be treated for that disease, but be monitored for that disease, so the government could track them. Now, get me being maybe I'm stupid, maybe a man at times. I thought the idea of medicine was when you found a disease, you should treat it. Now, we're not talking the cold, we're not talking the flu, we're talking syphilis. Syphilis is a venereal disease, which is horrific in any community, very much a problem with the African American community or the black community as well, because most of the poor demographics in the 30s, which the experiment started in, right? And they didn't treat it. They only examined it, and they knew how to treat it. They knew how to cure syphilis in the 30s, but yet they did not. This group of people did not. These people did not volunteer. Let me set the record correctly. They found these people having syphilis. They did not treat them. They simply watched them, not treated them. Now, and they let them spread that disease to others. To my understanding, there's no efforts made to contact other people these people may have had relationships with, right? Say wives, girlfriends, and say, hey, we think you might have been contacted with something. Let's treat you out. Let me see if we can treat you where else. Well, let them run amok. What's that called other than horrific? What's that called other than horrible? What's that called? And it's bad enough that they did it within the black African American community, the black community of the South. It's even more so. Thank you, Grey Wolf. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, when I see, it's going to throw me off track. I'm sorry.
But you startled him, Grey Wolf. You knocked him right out of his zone.
It doesn't take much early in the morning. Just wait till I get going. Guess this is be.
No, you're doing fine. I just wanted to say thanks to Grey Wolf for jumping in.
Thumbs up, Grey Wolf. It's just, to me, you treat someone comes in sick, you treat them. Sexual disease that will kill. Well, then studies after the fact, after it was exposed in the 70s. Yes. The experiments ran from the 30s to the 70s. 400 people at least were infected. Some of them died. Wow, some of them died. So the United States government did an experiment, basically in poor blacks, where some of them died. Okay, so next question I asked Cessus House is, when was exposed, did people go to jail? No, I went to jail. Nobody lost their job. Nobody did nothing. Everybody got paid. The worst case scenario happened is that Bill Clinton came out during his presidency and said, hey, we really screwed up. We're sorry that we did it, right? Some people might have gotten a check. I was trying to figure out how much that check would have been for. That's the miserable question. Was that money worth it? These people didn't have the answer. They couldn't say, hey, we don't want to be part of this. Thank you very much. Anyway, they were hey, you got syphilis, we don't care. No, it's not the only time they did it. When they thought they were having problems in the United States doing these experiments, they went to Guatemala. Yeah, the United States government went to Guatemala, and we continued them. Yeah, and there we did something even more horrific. We purposely gave these diseases, other diseases, to mental ill, children in orphanages, other people that were at risk. So the United States government, the government that we pay for, the government that we voted for, right, that we vote for, went out of their way to infect people in another country with horrific diseases to study them. Gee, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we after the Second World War hang a bunch of Germans for doing those things? Didn't we after the Second World War try a bunch of Germans, try some Japanese doctors, and hang them for doing these things? I think we did during the Nuremberg trial. The Russians had their own trials. We did the same thing in Tokyo after the Second World War. But yet, the CDC was allowed to do so, and nobody went to jail, and nobody was punished in any way, shape, or form. And we're supposed to now believe. So the Referral said this: things happen. I understand that things happen. But then that's when you find out about them, you punish them, right? At least you fire them, but that's not done. And the same thing during COVID, going to different stores and people weren't masks the other day. I had more than one conversation with good day. More than one conversation with people, African Americans, my neighbors, told me they weren't trusting the CDC because they knew what the government did in the 30s. And they're saying, hey, if they're doing it to us and they doing the 30s, what are they doing to us now? Good question. Good question. And the problem is, how long does it take to overcome the sense of mistrust? When you read about what they did, with the government, I should be clear, what the government did in New York, in orphanages, to children, to study influenza, which of course killed some of them. What the government did to study children in orphanages to see what would happen when it was the virus that usually goes away, but sometimes it leads to blindness, and they would infect kids with this stuff to see what would happen. And nobody goes to jail for this. I think that's horrible in and of itself. Nobody went to jail. You think people would go into jail for this stuff? And again, after Nuremberg, they meaning people that did Nuremberg, the government, the United States, government of the world, got together and say, look, this is things we're making sure that we're going to do. We're making sure from now on, it'll be considered a crime against humanity if you conduct medical experiments on people without their permission. It'll be a crime against humanity to conduct experiments on people, not only that with their permission, if they can understand it. I mean, people under the age of 18, people who might be mentally ill, drunks, say, drug addicts, that you can't be doing this. And we would know this would continue during MK Ultra when people like Whitey Bulger, the famous, he was a mafioso, organized crime figure in Boston. He was subject, when he was in prison, to MK Ultra experiments. And his friends who knew Whitey Bulger, who was ending his life, he was murdered in prison, beaten to death by a club, by another prisoner. But before he went to prison and experimented on by MK Ultra people, yeah, he did crimes, but they weren't violent crimes. After that period of his life, where during his trial he would testify, all these experiments made him feel, that probably his personality was changed. The same thing with Charles Manson. The son Charles Manson did mostly petty crimes, car theft, postal stealing mail, stuff like that, right? Things were crimes they should not have been doing, but not crimes that got people killed. But after he goes to prison, gets experimented on, yeah, what did he do? Oh, Sharon Tate. That's a whole other stuff. In fact, a really good book you want to read about Sharon Tate is one called Chaos. And it's a thick book. It's a good audio book as well. If you like audiobooks, it's also a great book to read. It's called Chaos. And in it, the author talks about Charles Manson, MK Ultra, all the crimes about the Sharon Tate murder, right? Anything all involved, all how that interplays. Same thing you get from reading about Whitey Bulger or the Ultra Bomber. All of them have the same thing in common. They're experimented on by the United States government. Yeah, they're experimented on by the United States government. Why? You tell me. Why? I'd like to know. Why are we experimenting on humans, especially on human beings who can't say no? Well, either because you don't tell them, or they're prisoners and say, oh, you want to be fed, you better sign this release form. Or if you want to get beaten up, you better sign this release form. If you want electrical shock therapy, You better sign this release form, right? I mean, this is wrong. And you don't believe me, feel free, don't believe me. Just go online, type in CDC human experimentation and see what takes you. Or CDC and syphilis and see what takes you. Now there's some people who will try to justify it. There are people out there who try to justify it, say, well, the things that we learned from this experiment was justified what we did to human beings. Is that kind of like saying, well, the things that they did to the Jews in concentration camps justified the horrific things that we did to them? So we understood what happens to people at high altitude, what happens to people when you plunge them in icy cold water for hours at a time. No, it doesn't. And the thing that people actually justify it, and probably would really be more than happy to go and use us as experiments as we speak now, if they could get away with it. Which makes me bring up the musical question: what experiments were done to people during COVID? What experiments were done to people after COVID? Not only medical experiments, not only saying, hey, how does this work? How does that work? But control experiments. What happens when we lock people down? What can we get them to do? What can we get them to believe? And again, these are things we'll never know because there's layers upon layers upon layers of secrecy invented and used, so we don't know. It's incredible. It's up to us. Here we go. You can see I'm in the mood now. It's up to us to do my answers. It's up to us to write our people in power and say, hey, I want to know more information about this, because many people don't. Even our congressmen don't. Some of them don't. And say, what's going on with this? What happened here? Ask the questions that make them feel uncomfortable. Ask them questions and demand answers. I like to know them. I like to know why people involved in the syphilis experiment were not put in jail. Why weren't they not charged? If it's the more that we find out about the vaccinations and COVID and what we lied to about it, shouldn't someone be held responsible for that too? If not necessarily for human experimentation aspect, because that can be always denied. Say, we don't know, right? The money wasting. Things. There's many questions to be answered, and we as the members of the public demand and should be getting the answers. We are entitled to the answers. Anyway, back to our friends at CDC. Well, not my friends. So we're experimenting on kids in Guatemala. We're experimenting on Afro-Americans in the United States. Now, the universities that used to help study this disease was primarily a black university, Tuscaloosa University down south. Right? That's had at the time a great reputation of being the forefront of educating the poor, educating African Americans, making sure anybody that wanted a university education got one. Right? What about that reputation now? What do you think? You have a reputation left after that? Now, maybe this all came out in the 70s, and Bill Clinton, apologized for stuff in the 90s, I believe, is when he says his apology. A little bit later, I'm quite unsure of the year, but he said, "We're sorry too bad, but we're sorry." Do they have a reputation left? I got a friend that doing a documentary on two people out of Wisconsin who were early pioneers in the UFO field, researching it, investigating what was going on. This is in the 40s and 50s. One of them was institutionalized in the state of Wisconsin. And the institution noted it and would go to great notoriety for being involved in MK Ultra. So the question we have with this one is this: was our friend, the author, one of the two guys here, experimented by MK Ultra and given the idea of experimenting with UFO, by investigating UFOs? Why are we trying to mind control people? Why? Well, I know why we want to mind control people. That's JFK, right? That's Sirhan. Yeah. That's Martin Luther King. Yeah. You get where this is going, don't you? Right? Is it conspiratorial? It's not a conspiracy if it's true, right? It's not a conspiracy if it's true. Let's go with the Ultra Bomber for a minute. The Ultra Bomber had mental issues, no doubt about that. Before he went to university, he had mental issues, a few. as anybody would be, doing high stress research and study and higher education like Harvard, right? It didn't do him any good to be experimented on. It didn't do him any good to be horrifically experimented on. Yeah, and you wonder why he went insane? Yeah, gee, I wonder why. I mean, it is these. Oh, I can run out of time. It's insane. So the next one of this, well, we were doing more with the CDC. Everybody involved in the syphilis study is dead. The leadership of that experiment all dead. Most of them died before the year 2000, right? But what we'll be talking about next week is another group of great people during the Second World War. Was called Unit 731. Was a Japanese army unit that used biological weapons in China. Biological weapons in China, and also did experiments on human beings, include prisoners of war, American prisoners of war, Australian prisoners of war, British prisoners of war. And we'll go a little bit of those experiments that they did on them, and talk about what happened to the leadership of that unit after the war, because they were caught. They transferred it, so we had them by the grip of my hands, right? What happened? Then we'll talk about some of the Germans that we caught after the war. You know, if some of the experiments they were doing with people. And that's the musical question: what happened to them? Maybe they're hung. Well, maybe we went through 20 years in jail, whatever else. But I think you'd be surprised what happened to them. Same thing when you read about, when I talk about some of the people involved in the experiments with syphilis. So the experiments either in the United States or Guatemala, or what happened to some of these orphanages in New York State. What happened to those people involved in those experiments? It might be what we would want them to be. I think you'd be really, really surprised. Anyway, by my book, I appreciate everybody listening. I went off my rant, which I'm really good at. I don't use names the way we ended the Watergate thing until I get some slides made up, because I'm going to mispronounce names like there's no tomorrow. The names when it comes to Watergate is important. Remember, Watergate's your friend. After all, one of the two reporters worked at one time for the Office of Naval Intelligence, and probably was working as a spy at the time. He worked for a newspaper and worked in Watergate. Welcome to American history, what you don't know. Anyway, I appreciate y'all. I think we're going to play some more commercials now. And I thank you again. Appreciate buying my book, God Grey Wolf. You rock on. Anybody else? Oh, we got that book coming out on Imagining Gambling by Guy Frank Bersari, and yet a good book in gambling and gardening. I just get the G's upset. Book on gardening coming out maybe this month, later this month, probably May, and the UFO one too. Anyway, okay. I hope I don't screw this up too badly. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.
The future. The final frontier. It has never been so uncertain as now. AI, VR, haptic wear, nanotechnology, mass destruction with a remote click. Now we are finally seeing the true potential and dangers of an ever-connected and overly policed hyper-technological world. Have we finally become the architect of our own demise? Is there still hope? Welcome to the future. Welcome to Punk Droid.
Hi, I'm Kurtzauer, and you're